Hey everyone, welcome to Manifestation TV. It's Agnes, Kowalski, and I'm so excited to have the amazing Amber Aziza, millennial business strategist, with us today to talk about her manifestation stuff. I'm going to send it over to her just now to tell us a little bit about her journey, her entrepreneurial journey so far, and how she's got to this point. Thanks so much for being here, Amber.
Thank you for having me. I love being here.
So tell us a little bit about what stages have you gone through to get to where you are now, which is someone who's really recognized on social media, really recognized in your industry. How this didn't happen overnight.
No.
Give us a time frame and tell us like a few of the steps that like bigger steps that got you to where you are now.
So when I first started, I didn't know anything about law of attraction or manifesting anything. I just thought hard work equals results. And for a while it did. But what I found out was I was burning myself out. I had a successful company that was a consulting firm. I had a team of employees. I had what I thought I wanted. And I was constantly burned out. I was in and out of the hospital. It was just bad news bears all around. And when I got to the hospital for like the 8th time, there was a nurse who was always there in the ER. And she said, you know what it is? And I said, yes, I know what it is. It's stress. And she said, yeah. She's like, what are you manifesting in your life?
She said that? This is the best nurse on earth. Oh my God.
Said, what do you mean? What am I manifesting in my life? Like, I had not heard of manifestation in the realm of, putting it out there what you want and then getting it. I thought like, what are you manifesting? Like, what are you working on? And so I was like, well, I've got this and I've got this. She's like, no. What are you manifesting in your life? Because whatever it is bringing you back here over and over and over again. And so she said, I need you to read a book. And so she had me read The Secret. And I
am getting chills hearing about this nurse. Who is this magical lady?
And so I read it while I was in the hospital, hooked up to an IV.
Oh my God. I never knew this story about you. This is incredible.
And so I read it, and just the first chapter, and I was like, I've been doing this all wrong. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, I've been doing it wrong the whole time. And so I quickly started making a list of things that make me happy in my business, things that aren't making me happy in my business. And what I found was, because I was still working with corporations at the time, I still felt like a corporate employee. Having to be at a certain place at a certain time was still making me feel like I was an employee. And that was what I was trying to fight against, but yet my business was built upon the principle of that. So
this is huge.
Yeah, me being back in the hospital was just a result of me saying out, this is what I want, but not, my actions weren't matching it. And so my actions were saying, no, really, I want to be tired and exhausted all the time. So I just sat down and figured out, what do I want in my business? What do I want in my life? And once I started doing that, once I really determined, you know what, I don't want to have to be on site all the time. Like, this is not what I wanted. I want a location independent, business, and this isn't it. And 2 months later, I got a call from a company that wanted to purchase my company. And I initially said no. I said no the first 2 times. And the 3rd time, I said to myself, okay, if they come back to me with another number, if it's above this number, I'm taking it. And they came back and it was well above that number. And so I said, okay, I'm going to take it. And so I had said, I just want to help people. Like, that's my goal. I want to help people, and I want to help life be easier for people. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll do like some life coaching or get certified as a life coach. But that's not really my jam. That wasn't really, where my passion was. And what I found was that I could help my friends with their businesses. They could tell me the problem and I could identify quickly how to resolve it. And a friend of mine said to me, you know, you should just probably do that. Like, you're really good at it. Just do that. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. Leap of faith, here we go. Because no one knew me. Everyone knew me in the career field. They didn't know me as, you know, business expert. And so I just said, you know what, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. I worked really hard, but I kept Post-it notes all on my wall in my office that said different little goals of mine and different things I wanted to achieve and various quotes that were inspiring. And anytime I was feeling like I was starting to doubt myself, anytime I was feeling like things weren't going as well as I wanted them to, I would pick off one of those and say, okay, you've got this, Amber. And it really shifted my thinking. It really shifted how I approach things. And I find that when I am working in A Squared or in Midnight Millionaire Club, which are the two businesses I have now, when I'm working in those, if I see a dip in numbers or in income or in client engagement, I can usually trace it directly back to a time period when I was having what I call a slump week, a week where I was just like, oh, everything sucks, everything's awful, everything's terrible.
Wow.
And I can almost pinpoint it to the day because it's usually like a 3-week effect. So if I have a slump week this week, in 3 weeks, I will see the result of that slump week. And it's absolutely crazy, but it's true.
Whoa.
So
you're a good detective of your manifesting pattern.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I've learned, you know, that if I feel like Monday is a slump day, I will take it off. I will cancel my calls that day. I will take that day off. I'll go to the pool, or I'll go to a museum, or just do something fun to uplift me and kind of shake the funk off so that I can start Tuesday brand new slate.
Oh, that is such a good tip, audience. Please take this in. Don't power through the slump day.
No.
Nothing, no fruition from the slump day. There's a few things I want to talk about in what you just said. One, don't power through the slump day. Nothing good is coming out of powering through. That's the old vibration, the old pattern of I have to work really, really hard. I have to work myself into the ground to get anything. Secondly, the one thing I wanted to just touch on for a second was that you already had the power of manifestation though. You had created a successful business, even though it was like in this vibration that you didn't really want to live in, you know, you still were able to do that. So where did that come from? Like you had some like higher level of self-confidence to even have that.
I think that came from my parents. When I was growing up, my mom's a pastor, and we've always been, you know, when I read The Secret, I thought, you know, that's just the stuff that my parents already told me, but I guess, you know, sometimes you need to hear somebody else say it. But we always were told, you know, saying, oh, you're pretty, or you're cute, or you're adorable weren't things that my parents allowed in the house. It was always, you're brilliant. You can do anything you want to do. You have to work hard to get the results, you know, and it was always very like, you know, based upon your character, based upon your mindset, not necessarily, you know, outer beauty. And so for me, I was never told that I couldn't do something. When I entered my sophomore year of high school, I told my parents, I want to be done with high school in a year. And they said, figure it out.
Okay, sure you can.
No, they weren't ones to say no, but they were the king and queen of saying, okay, we'll figure out how to do that. And sure enough, I did. And I graduated at the end of my junior year. You know, same thing for college. I wanted to be done with it in 3 years. So my parents said, figure it out. So I took summer classes. I was done in 3 years. So I was never told you can't do that. I'm never told you're not going to be able to make it. And so for me, when I made the leap from 9 to 5 into my business, there wasn't any doubt that, you know, I can do it. It was just, how am I going to make it work? How am I going to figure it out?
Well, this is really important because whatever tapes your parents have given you, and you happen to have a really good tape on one level. On one level, there was like the heart, you have to work really hard to get it, which just perpetuates having to work really hard all the time. But on the other hand, the other tape they gave you was that you can do anything.
Absolutely.
And those are the tapes that replay, right? So it's just a matter of like habitual thought. So like you said, you were putting reminders up. That's a good tip, guys. Just reminders up. If you didn't get those tapes and you got crappy tapes, rewrite the tapes. Decide what you're going to think about all day, every day, until it becomes your habit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that I struggled with, I think, was making a habit. Because when you are so used to work hard, it is very difficult to say, okay, work smart. Focus on, now my big mantra is work.
It feels lazy, right? It feels like you're being lazy.
Exactly. So it was really hard for me to rewrite that for myself, because I thought, well, no, if I'm not working really hard, then I'm not getting anything done. But now that I have a team that they all have their own expertise, and I feel comfortable and confident pushing those pieces to them, it's like, okay, this is what it meant to just...
I'm losing you on the connection a little bit here. Are you there? I got you back.
There we go. Okay.
You were saying, what is your mantra now, to kind of counteract that work
so
hard?
It's to work smarter, not harder.
So
Using
the team. What else do you have in there?
So I use the team. I use all sorts of other organizational tools, project management tools. Project management tools have helped me so much. I'm very type A when it comes to my business, and I have to be able to see like where are we in everything.
What are some of your favorite tools, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Yeah, so I use Dapulse. It's DAPULSE.
Mm-hmm.
And it is my favorite tool, like, in the whole wide world, because it pretty much...
If it's your favorite tool, then we all need to have it.
Yeah. It pretty much puts all of the projects, all of the tasks that are within the projects in a dashboard. So I can quickly see, okay, these are the high priorities. These are the...
So you put your launches, your clients, like all that stuff in there.
Everything goes in there. But what's most important is I can see where my team is in terms of completing them. And I can spot points of overwhelm. So if I see that one team member has like 8 projects due on the same day, we can then come up with a plan ahead of time and be proactive to reassign some things or readjust some projects so they're not overwhelmed.
Oh, love that. You can help your manifestation along with things like this that help manage your stuff, right? It doesn't mean like, okay, so if I want to manifest a really successful business, I also need the tools to make that happen. That's kind of the aligned action part of manifestation. That you can mindset all day long and still not manifest what you want exactly because you're not taking the aligned action.
Right, exactly.
So that's a perfect example, is using those tools. So Dapulse, anything else we should know about?
I am huge in communication. And so I use Slack to communicate with my team, but I'm always sending them positive affirmations, because sometimes my team members, they get in the grind, they get in their projects, but they'll get frustrated with themselves if things aren't turning out how it's supposed to. And so I look at myself like mama bear. And so I have to protect their mindset along with mine. And
that's so lovely. I have not heard somebody say that. That is so important.
Absolutely. It's very important. And, I can tell, like, if someone's slower in turning things in and they're usually my rock star, I'll tell them, take a day off. Take a day off. You still get paid. Just go do something, go relax, go snuggle with your children. My lead admin, she is brilliant. She's wonderful. But she got sick and had to go to the ER, and she had a viral cough. And she said to me, don't worry, I'll be back in the office I'll be back at my computer tonight. And I was like, no, you won't. You're taking the rest of the week off. What are you talking about? And she's like, it's Tuesday. I'm like, I know, but your body's trying to speak to you. So sometimes as the boss or as the manager, you have to protect your team kind of from the negative mindset that goes in and seeps in, because sometimes they are doing it because they think that's what you want. And so I am constantly reminding them that I want what's best for you as an individual. That in the beginning, the business works better with them being 100%.
I want every entrepreneur to hear this, because we've all worked for somebody who thinks they're bringing out our best by like pushing us into the ground. Yeah. Everyone's had a boss like that who's, or like a sports coach, or like some kind of like person in your life who's like, oh no, you just have to push harder. Like, this is what it's about. Work hard, play hard. And in the business that we're in, and in any business really, like that just leads to burnout, resentment, and like betrayal potentially. People who are like hiring, firing, take a look at what's going on there. Because maybe you're not doing the hard work, but you're just projecting that onto your team.
Exactly.
Oh, that is such an important note. Thank you for sharing that. So we've gone through some nice manifestation stuff for your team, affirming your team. We've gone through the big break that there is no such thing. As you told us about your journey, this is a multi-level thing. And anyone who I know who I've interviewed has been in it for at least 5 to 7 years, if not longer, who's at a place that they're like, still growing, but they're happy.
Yeah. For sure.
It takes time. Be realistic about that. It doesn't mean it can't happen faster. There's some people who just line it all up, and it lines up perfectly at the right time, but also be realistic about like, all the stuff that you're seeing out there about, how much you could be making every month. There's enough for all of us, but also don't use that goal. Like, how do you talk to your clients about like goals and reaching their goals and that kind of stuff, so that it's like slightly out of their comfort zone. So they're striving, but not enough so it's crushing them when they're not making it.
So I encourage my clients to make SMART goals, but I encourage them before they sit down and write out those goals to focus on how they want to feel about their business.
So good.
Because if it's not heart-centered, those SMART goals aren't going to mean anything. It's going to be a moving target that you're trying to hit, and you're going to feel like burned out, not know, why am I so burned out? Why am I so exhausted? Why am I not happy? So I instead tell them, before you write down what your goals are, focus on how you want to feel about your business. Focus on what you want the end result to be feeling-wise. Don't put money in the factor. Put your heart into it, and then write your goals. And you'll find that those goals will be a lot more in alignment with your business, but also in alignment with you. And so when they do that, I find that it's a lot easier for them to achieve their goals. But then also, if they miss the mark a little bit on their goals, they're not devastated, because they still have the feeling that they were aiming to have.
Oh, this is such a good point, because otherwise you're chasing the money, and that is an awful feeling.
Exactly.
Everyone's been there, and it sucks. So chase the feeling. Chase the feeling. That's what you're after. What are some of the coolest things you've ever manifested, and some of the worst things you've ever manifested? Because we can do both.
I think the coolest thing that I've ever manifested was probably when I moved to DC. When I moved, it was last year, 2015, May 15th, I said, I think I'm going to move. And May 17th, I packed up everything, and everyone's like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'm moving to DC. And they were like, you said you were going to move. You didn't even know where you were going to move to. Now you're moving to DC. Like, what? And they said, well, you got an apartment? And I said, no. And they said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'll figure it out. And I posted on Facebook and said, I'm headed to DC, packed up all my stuff, headed to DC, so excited. And a Facebook friend of mine messaged me and said, hey, I live in Alexandria, which is right next to DC. And she said, if you need a place to stay, I have a guest room. You're more than welcome to stay in my guest room. And I was like, look at that. Like, I have a place to stay.
I love that. That is, they say that's wealth consciousness is that you can make a decision like very, very quickly. Is that very wealthy people make decisions super fast and just go, and they figure it out as they go.
Exactly.
And look at what you manifested. I love that. Also, DC totally seems like your vibration. I don't know why.
It is.
Like in another life, maybe you would have been a politician or like, right? Like it's the vibration of you. Like I see, that feels so right for you. So it's interesting you were drawn there.
Yes, absolutely. So that was probably the coolest thing I'd manifested, was the ability to just go and have somewhere to stay and she was like, stay as long as you need. I ended up staying there for 2 months until I found my place, and it was perfect. I would say that maybe the worst thing that I've manifested, probably relationships. I can manifest some really gross relationships.
Yes.
And the thing was, I never realized that I was, even after I read The Secret, even after the enlightenment phase, I was still manifesting these terrible people to be with. And it was like, what am I doing? Like, why? Like, I'm a good person. Why are all these terrible guys attracted to me? And a friend of mine said to me, well, you kind of attract them. Like you kind of put it out there. Like, you want someone who's successful. You want someone who's educated. You want someone who has no children, who's confident. She's like, you're basically asking for an arrogant jerk. I was like,
oh, very interesting. Because you weren't being specific about like the heart and like what kind of personality he would have.
Right. And so when I dropped all of the, pre-qualifiers that I had, focused on, again, the feeling that I wanted someone who felt good about himself and could make me feel good about myself, that would encourage me to, continue to feel great about myself. Someone who was confident. And I wanted the confidence because I like that sense of someone being strong-willed and kind of being about themselves. But by dropping all the other ones that really didn't matter, the having kids or all of that, I was able to then start dating guys that I was like, hey, you're not a jerk. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Wow. That's a really good point. And I think that you can probably, if you're in a relationship, you can probably do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Because you're like, if you're doing this thing where you're having this expectation that's like a checklist of like, he has to do this, you're missing what he is doing.
Exactly.
That's great. Or she, whatever. So that's a really good, cool thing that you figured out how to manifest correctly for yourself. And that unconscious thing was happening, that it was like, the feeling again.
Right.
It's our lesson here, people. Follow the feeling everywhere, in your business, in your relationships. They don't steer you wrong.
Never. They never steer you wrong.
Have you been in a place of like because you seem so clear. Have you been in a place of confusion, or that type of thing where you're not clear about what to do with your business?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and how you got out of that. I think that's probably like the best question I can ask about people who are in the struggle, because if they're in the struggle, they're probably not clear.
Right. For me, I hit it recently. It was around December, around Christmas time. I was becoming burned out with coaching. And I felt like coaching was becoming oversaturated. Like everybody was a business coach, and it was like, you're not a business. You've never run a business. How are you a business coach? And I felt like I was attracting clients that weren't good for me. So clients that either had way unrealistic, they'd stop paying, and it was just like, what am I manifesting here? What's going on? And so I spent a week. I locked myself away in New York for a week, and I really just sat down and wrote out everything in my business that is going well, everything that I'm having trouble with, and everything that I'm unsure of. And then I just sat and meditated every day for an hour. And I would take one topic and meditate on it for a whole hour. You know, what am I going to do with this? What's the link here? How do I clear it? And it was like being in a room that's filled with smoke, and someone opens the door and the smoke starts to come out and you can start to see clearly. And it was like, okay, now I know what I need to do. And that's what prompted me to, you know, retire from coaching and to bring in in-house coaches and train them. Because it was not that I didn't want to help people. I still wanted to help people. It's just my passion was not sitting at my computer all day. And being one person, you only have a certain amount of hours in a day that you can actually help people anyways. So by bringing in a team of 8 coaches who all were coaches before in their own businesses, but they maybe either didn't really want to deal with the business part of it, or they wanted to expand their reach, brought them in under A Squared, and now they work with our clients, and I get the privilege of working with, you know, 2 or 3 clients, but really overseeing the business side and working on the strategy side.
I had no idea that's what you did. That's amazing. That's such a brilliant, I love everything about this. I love that you gave yourself a week. And I feel like I've heard so many stories where like entrepreneurs have to go and lock themselves away from every possible distraction. Yes. And just let it come from the source, from your purpose, from what you're really supposed to be doing. I love that you did that. You got the clarity, and then you did something that's really kind of like, what's the word I want to say? Like just alternative to the industry. Like most people do not do that. It's not commonplace. And you came up with an alternative that is perfect for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
brilliant. There's no reason why you have to follow the blueprint. You don't.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of manifestation is, you know, the meditating part of it is that you will get the clarity to the question you're asking. I found that the hardest part for me was clearing out everything else from my mind while doing it.
Yes.
So once I was able to do it, it was like, wow, like such clarity comes from it.
And do you have this is so brilliant, like so brilliant. I want to encourage everyone to be putting that practice into their business as much, if not more, of like the busy counteracted with this part of it. Especially if you're unclear and you're lost and you're in the struggle, get clear. And also have a guide, because you're going to have your own like negative self-talk, like stories, crap that you maybe haven't worked through. And someone like Amber, who's seen every possible side of this journey, is going to be able to illuminate to you, no. It's not, this is still your path. Like that's a story. This is still your path. That's a story to get you on the right path. Because sometimes, you know, even if we are trying to clear, we still can't get it because we don't know what it's supposed to look like. And someone who's been on the path can see it. Because there's a bit of a pattern that goes with these things, right? Do you have, my final question is, do you have a practice, a mindset practice for yourself that works for you?
I do. So for me, I'm old school. I write everything out. Feelings, thought processes, I write it all out. So every morning, I write in a journal what I'm grateful for. Starting my day with gratitude. And then I write a note to myself for tomorrow where I'll say, you know, you may not have gotten everything done, but, you know, you did what you could. Or I may say, you know, good luck on that meeting. Like it's a note for me from the past. And then I also pray. So I am a pastor's kid. So I spend time having a conversation with God and really just making sure that I'm doing things in a way that's beneficial for the people that I'm servicing. And if I ever feel like I'm getting a response of, you know, you're missing the mark, you're not quite there, then I will spend time meditating and trying to figure out, okay, what am I missing? How do I get back into alignment? But by starting the day with gratitude and being grateful, you really do approach the day differently. You know, I can tell the days that I didn't start off writing in my gratitude journal because everything's awful. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Why isn't the system working? You know, but when you start off by looking around at your life and saying, oh my gosh, like, how blessed am I? I can set my own schedule. I can be wherever I want to be and still work. I can get things done. I live in a gorgeous city. I have a great apartment. I have amazing friends, amazing family. Like, when you start to really break it down and go through everything that you're grateful for, you really start to see, like, wow, I'm pretty blessed and this is amazing.
Beautiful. I love that. It's so important. And it might feel like it's getting old, but just keep doing it because gratitude brings more gratitude. It just attracts more things to be grateful for. I did have one other question I remembered that I did want to ask you, and we'll end off with this because I think it's hugely important and such a big question that's always coming up and driving in the coaching business is, what's your relationship been to money on this path?
So with money, Money and I have always been an interesting couple. If I had to describe my relationship with money, I would say that it used to be like Ike and Tina. It was Ike and I was Tina. Where I just
That's the best description I've heard to date on manifestation.
So I struggled with my relationship with money because growing up, we never had money talks. Bills just got paid. I never saw how they got paid. And I came from a foster care situation. I was in foster care for 3 years, and then I was adopted out of foster care. In foster care, I just remember scarcity, constant scarcity, no money for anything. You know, I had 2 outfits that my foster mom would just wash at night. And so then when I got to this home where it was like, you have a closet full of clothes and the fridge is full of food, and when you're hungry, go eat. And, you know, like, it was like, what? And so I feel like that really rooted in me this unhealthy view of money, where it's like, when I get it, it burns a hole in my pocket. Like, I gotta spend it. And it was until I would even say about 6 months ago, where I kind of looked around and said, okay, Amber, like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're 30 years old. You need to you need to have a better relationship with your money. And what I started doing was, in the mornings when I wrote out my gratitude journal, I would also write out a money journal where I simply would say, you know, this is how much is in my account. These are the things that I need to spend money on. And are these things necessary? Yes. Oh, nope, that's not necessary. Okay, don't spend it. But really putting into play the kind of the narration of, you cannot keep spending just to spend. You know, money does not make it feel better.
Oh, that's huge, guys.
Yeah, and so I started to...
Because it's feelings, right?
It's absolutely feelings. I started to, in my money journal, write my bank balance at the top right-hand corner of that day's page. And so I started to almost become to seeing that number get bigger. And so it really would curb my spending, because I was like, I don't want to spend. See how much is on my money journal? Like, no, I don't want to spend. But by seeing it every day and writing the new number every day, it really kind of ingrained in me that, you know, my relationship with money needed to change. And just having daily habits. I have an app on my phone that whenever I do certain things, it will take money from my bank account and put it in a special account. So it will, like, I'll say, okay, yeah, I did X, Y, and Z this week. I got all of my things on my to-do list done. So it'll be like, great job. And then it'll take like $100 and put it in the special account.
Oh.
And the goal of the special account is for something special, like a trip or something like that.
Oh, that's so cool. What app is that?
That app, let me pull it up. We have so many apps.
Because I've heard different ones of like tracking money on mint.com, which is also good. But I love this money journal. Why not, if you're journaling every day, why not just jot it down and make yourself in the awareness of your money, not avoiding, not like, because then you can just be like, imagining how much is in there, worrying about how much is in there.
Exactly.
Be real. Just look at what's in there and deal with the reality of it.
Absolutely. So the one that I use is called Acorns.
Oh, Acorns.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So it's like rewarding you for doing stuff that you got to do anyway.
Exactly. And you can set it up so that like if you pay your bills on time, that it'll send money into the special account, or you can even set it up for spare change. So like if you swipe your card and it's $9.25, that they will take genius and put it in a different savings account.
That's genius, especially for savings. I was going to say, because there's a whole thing about your relationship to savings. If you never saw your parents save, never knew what was in their savings, or they didn't have savings, you have no idea. Like you're just living day to day. No matter how much money you have, you're living day to day.
Exactly.
Because there's no real security unless you have that. But then again, you're after the feeling. So why don't you want to feel secure? Why don't you want to take care of yourself long term? Is someone else going to save you? You're making someone else responsible for your future. All of those kind of feelings. Look at that stuff. I love all the tips that you've shared with us. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You're such a beautiful, inspiring person. Love spending this time with you. And I know our audience is just going to be vibrating high after watching this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Amber. Is there anything, anywhere we can find you, any stuff you have going on that you'd like to share with our people?
Absolutely. So if you are in need of any sort of business strategy, feel free to reach out to me and my team at asquaredcoach.com.
Perfect. And what are your favorite social media things for people to find you on?
So you can find me pretty much on every social media platform, the main four, at Amber_Aziza, except Snapchat, which is kind of my jam. That's behind the scenes of the business. Sometimes my team members will take it over and you can see what they're doing all over the world. And that's just Amber Aziza.
Awesome. We'll find you. We love you. Thank you for sharing so much today.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.